welcome back to CageChat MMA. We are here to discuss and review, of course, UFC San Antonio, which took place last Saturday. But I wanted to rewatch it, gather my thoughts, and see what other outlets said, like the Fight Disciples, like Luke Thomas I've seen, like Laura Sanko, and really get a feel as where everyone was at, because obviously Marlon Vera didn't really turn up against Cory Sandhagen, did he? It was a main event we was all looking forward to, a main event we was all buzzing for. We thought we was going to get this all-out war, this back and forth battle, blood, guts, everything. But it was a bit lukewarm, wasn't it? And I like how Marlon Vera owned the loss. As he owns his successes, he's owned his defeats and his failure. Because he has been so close, he's been so great at winning fights. Obviously, the Dominic Cruz fight wasn't going his favor, but he pulled the win out the bag from that with that incredible kick in the ear. He was looking for the same this weekend, because Cory Sandhagen started in first or second gear in the first round, and he just carried on going for the gears. He looked phenomenal, and he didn't look like stopping. Whereas Marlon Vera seemed like he put it in neutral and stalled from the first round. He never got going, to the point where Jason Perillo was looking at his man and going, "Are you okay? Is something up? Is there something you tell me? It's an injury that you've developed, perhaps?" And he didn't want to make any excuses. He just kept going back out there and trying. But unfortunately, nothing worked out. And that's the nature of the fight in Cory Sandhagen. TJ Dillashaw struggled. Petty Yan struggled. Cory Sandhagen is a fantastic fighter. And the win that Aljamain Sterling has over him is aging by a fine wine, because it shows you, yes, it happened very quickly. But maybe that's the best way of getting Cory Sandhagen out there, because we've seen him now over, 15 rounds. He could have had, certainly, he's got one win, but he could have had definitely two, maybe even 3 wins in his favour if it had been a different night. Especially TJ, that many people thought he won that. So he could be riding a 3-fight win streak right now. A 5-fight win streak with the 2 wins prior to the TJ Dillashaw fight, of course. And he's put himself up there as the number 1 contender, really. Obviously, we know Merab's there, but Merab's not going to fight Aljo, so you've got to wait and see what happens between Aljo and Henry Cejudo. But I think Cory might be right there. And again, things have got to play out in favours if Aljo beats Cejudo, and I do think the winner of both of those, if they win, will call out Alex Volkanovski and look to go to champ, especially Henry Cejudo. But we know both of those are looking at 145. We know that Aljamain's said that he isn't going to be at 135 forever, so it could be his last run, especially if he beats Henry Cejudo. He's then beaten Cejudo, Dillashaw. He's beaten Petty Yan. It'd be great if he could put Dominic Cruz and a Garbrandt on his record, but that's not going to happen because of where they are in their career. But he's put a fantastic shift in for himself, hasn't he? And a win against Henry Cejudo, stopping Triple C, coming back, and that first time last, and going straight back into a title shot and picking up the belt again, would be a fantastic win on his resume. And if he went up to 145 and tested himself against Volkanovski, we'd have to take our hats off to him. Similarly with Henry Cejudo. But as I said in the preview, there seems to be a funnel moment at the moment, and everyone's queuing up to get a title shot in the bantamweight division. You've got Merab, you've got Sean, and you've got Cory Sandhagen. Now, what Cory Sandhagen did very well is that he called out Merab. I thought he'd going to call out Sean O'Malley, because he mentioned Sean O'Malley in the media day, and that, to me, is a more compelling fight to watch Sean O'Malley versus Cory Sandhagen, just by the nature. They're both very tall, lean bantamweights. They're both at 5'10", 5'11". So that fight, and they're both strikers as well, and dynamic strikers, you would say. So that gets my mouth watering thinking about that prospect. Whereas Merab versus Cory Sandhagen, and Cory Sandhagen, I respect to call that, because it's a much difficult fight, because it's a much different fight. You're fighting pressure, you're fighting resilience, you're fighting the engine of Merab. Whereas with Sean O'Malley, you're almost fighting the skill, the pressure of fighting Sean O'Malley, the pressure of a fight with Sean O'Malley, because there's so much more media and eyes on Sean. But Merab's a tough fight, and especially over 5 rounds. We've seen what he's done in his previous fights. He can hold you down for 5 rounds. He can hold you down for 3 rounds. He can just keep going and not tire out. We saw it against Petty Yan, didn't we? Similar to Cory Sandhagen, once he gets going in that first round, it's very hard to stop and put the pressure on and overturn that. You have to almost get him out there. Similar to what Marlon Vera almost did against Merab. Obviously, Merab, showed the heart and the character and the person he is when he withstood that. Got back up and then finished Marlon Moraes in the second round. But this fight was a clear victory for Cory Sandhagen, and he looked phenomenal. And again, someone gave it to 48-47. I don't know why it's a split decision. There was never there isn't an argument as to Marlon Vera won more rounds than Cory Sandhagen. If anything, the argument is that it was a 50-45, and Cory Sandhagen comfortably beat him. The first 2 rounds were comfortably his because, as we know, Vera never really got started, and I think we can agree, and both Vera and Pereira agree, there were 2 rounds down going into the third, and that was concerning. But obviously the final 3 rounds were closer, but I don't see anything where Marlon Vera, had enough to warrant a victory in any of those rounds. At most, he might have got 1 round. 49-46, I said would be fair, but 48-47 never happened in favour of Vera, at least. So that judging needs to be worked out. That judge needs to be, moved on to either more local scenes, because apparently it was only his second fight judging, and he's, judging the main event. That was from what I heard at Luke Thomas and perhaps Laura Sanko, who are much more knowledgeable about obviously the sanction in bodies and everything over there and the nature of that thing, or those sort of things. But yeah, you can't begin at that. And we have seen a few, and one in this review that we have a look at, obviously, with Maycee Barber and Andrea Lee. But yeah, Cory Sandhagen almost got robbed, and you could definitely say so a second time, because the fight wasn't that close. It wasn't like you could give it either or. There wasn't enough there from there throughout any point of the fight to say he warrants that round. But yeah, we'll have a look at the actual statistics of the fight. 180 some strikes landed in total from Cory Sandhagen, over double of what Marlon Vera outputted, comfortably as well. And same again in significant strikes, and he got 3 out of 12 takedowns. He was phenomenal in what he done, and obviously Cory Sandhagen did win by get a split decision win, which was phenomenal for him, and it would move him on. And as I said earlier, he did call out Merab, which I think is a tough fight. It will be a fight night main event, I'd imagine, unless they do an interim. There might be an interim title coming up, because obviously, as we mentioned previously, with what happened with Henry Cejudo and Sterling, I can definitely see one of those, and the winner trying to look at 145. Obviously, if Sterling loses, he'll filter back out into the pack if he doesn't move to 145, and probably get maybe a Petty Yan trilogy or a Sean O'Malley fight. But yeah, I can see there being an interim bantamweight title fight happening this year, probably with Merab as one side, and maybe with Sandhagen with the second side. Who knows? For Marlon, I'd like to see him fight Petty Yan. Go back a step. Both of them are on losses. Both of them are within 2 wins from the title again now, but they both have the ability to get there. And I think Marlon Vera will get there at 30 years of age. He was on a 4-fight win streak. Obviously, his last 2 performances were not the best, but obviously we won the Dominic Cruz fight and lost the Sandhagen fight. But yeah, go in there with a Petty Yan, or I think he's there. Obviously, he's already fought Dominic Cruz and Rob Font. So yeah, I think Petty Yan will make the most sense, in my opinion. Just going off the top of my head of who's right there. But yeah, that moves us on nicely to Holly Holm. Holly Holm got the win against Yana Santos, and she looked fantastic, didn't she? She showed a bit of a different arsenal in terms of what I'd seen of Holly Holm, with her wrestling and her takedowns and her pressure, and being able to keep Yana Santos down for the majority of each round. And it is the path of least resilience, and it is also the best game plan, because both of them, I'm not saying they're equal, but it's a lot closer fight. I think it would have been a lot closer fight had it been a striking battle for 15 minutes. Obviously, we know what Holly Holm can do on the feet. We know she's got fantastic hands, but I think Yana Santos is resilient and tough, and has a bit of an engine on about her, and she can get some good strikes in there and damage as well. But she never, again, she had there's a little bit of a level in there, and I said it in a preview. It always feels like with Yana Santos, she takes 2 steps forward and then takes a step back when she tries and goes to that fight that will get her into a title shot. She never seems to be able to get over the hill. She's lost to both Holly Holm and Irene Aldana now. She lost to Aspen Ladd when Aspen Ladd was high up in the division. Obviously, she lost to Chris Cyborg, who was champion at the time. They're not bad losses to have on her record. They're just losses that, if she could put one into a win, she'd be fighting Nunes or whoever the bantamweight champion would be at the time. But she's so close. But Holly Holm was phenomenal in what she'd done. And again, we'll have a look at the statistics right now. Again, 105 strikes landed from Holly Holm, which was less than, of course, what Yana Santos landed, but they were, um, a lot more significance, and obviously the takedowns, 4 out of 6, and nearly 10 minutes of control time is what won the fight over the 3 rounds. I think she won it 30-27, it might be 29-28. From what I saw, it would have been 30-27, because I think she's just done enough to win all the rounds, in my opinion, with the pressure and the takedowns and the significant strikes. But again, it shows where she's at in her career, 41 years of age. Does she go and fight Raquel Pennington again? Obviously, she's already 2-0 against her, so that fight wouldn't make sense. There's Nunes, but she lost to Nunes via, round 1 knockout. So where does she go from here? The Miesha Tate rematch could be in the open if Miesha Tate gets a win in her next bout. That would be something we could look into. And, you've got the Irene Aldanas. She's already got a win over Irene Aldana. She's lost to Caitlin Vieira. That was a split decision. Does it want to run it back? There's a lot of decisions to be had. Juliana Pena would be a fresh matchup, actually, I believe. So maybe Juliana Pena could be the one to get called up for Holly Holm next. And that could be an almost title eliminator, couldn't it? If, from all accounts, Nunes is fighting Aldana next. Pena versus Holm would certainly be a fight to make, and it'd be a good fight to watch also. For Yana Santos, obviously she's going to be looking back down the rankings, so it's going to be difficult. Maycee Chiasson, perhaps, someone of that nature. Who knows? Maybe Miesha Tate as well. Could definitely be in her ballpark also for a fight next. But she needs to, just, I don't know if it's a belief thing or maybe it's just a level thing at the moment. She's 33 years of age, so she's not, she's still in her prime. She's still got 2 or 3 years left in her prime. But she needs to start turning those title challenging opportunities into wins so she can fight for the belt. If not, she's going to be someone who lingers around the 4th, 5th, 6th part through her career and, maybe ends up in a PFL or a Bellator. Who knows? But it would be difficult for her. But yes, a fantastic co-main event, should we say, and good to see Holly Holm back in the win column and doing what she does best. Nate Landwehr gave us one of the best, one of the sound bites of the weekend, didn't he, with his bicep comment. He had a good win against Austin Lingo, who came in on short notice, but Nate Landwehr got the job done and submitted him in the second round by a rear naked choke. And I said again in the preview, put him in there with a Jack Shaw, a Nathaniel Wood, or a Leroy Murphy. Put him in there in that ballpark next. Let's bring him, supposedly there's a card happening on July 22nd in London. Put him on that card and put him in there with one of the British boys. Let's have that and let's go another party, because he's always in fun fights. He has good pressure, he has good submissions, he's able to go 15 minutes, he's able to continue going when things are hard, which we saw against David Onama. And yeah, I'd like to see him in the UK. Maycee Barber versus Andrea Lee. Now, a lot of people and people on Twitter have been going hard on Barber, calling her the decision robber. And I don't think she did rob a decision. I think she earned it. I think she did enough to get the decision. Do I agree? 2-1 would have been fair, yes, probably. But I think Maycee Barber won the first and probably the third, if I remember from what I saw. I gave her just about 29-28. I think the first round, because obviously the talking point and sort of the most significant part was Andrea Lee getting the takedown. But Maycee Barber did more damage in that. And I think the reason why Maycee Barber got the victory is because those judging would probably have seen Andrea Lee and thought she hasn't done enough with the takedown. She hasn't done enough with her striking. Now, when it comes to scoring, it doesn't score if you don't, land strikes and don't progress the positions. It's similar to clinching up against the fence. If you do it for a minute and a half but you don't land any strikes, it's just a positional change. It's not actually a term for damage or a term for, duration. It's not a high scoring quality, and I don't think Andrea Lee, used those abilities enough. She had her taken down. If she had landed a few strikes to the face, landed an elbow here and there, she probably would have got the round in her favour, because she did have a good control time against Maycee Barber. But I think damage-wise, Barber won it for me, and hence why I gave her the victory. And it's unfair to call her the decision robber. I know Miranda Maverick took a dig at her also, because they had a close fight that ended up in a split decision that Maycee Barber got. But yeah, Maycee Barber got a good victory. And I'll put her in there with a Casey O'Neill, perhaps, somewhere along those lines. Maybe a Maycee Barber, Molly McCann in London would be fun also. I know we've got a fight card in July that's potentially happening, as I just said. But that would be a fun fight to me. Although I think Molly McCann, I'd love to see a fight Joanne Wood next. Let's have a UK-Scottish war or an English-Scottish battle in the UK. That'd be what I'd be interested in more. But yeah, Barber looked good. Andrea Lee looked good as well. It wasn't a robbery. It was a very close fight. And as I said, a few more strikes from Lee in positions where she'd been stronger in, probably would have got an edge to the scorecard. But she didn't make the most of their opportunities, in my opinion. Albert Juraev defeated Chidi and Njokuani. And Njokuani could have got the victory here, but he didn't use his hands enough. He didn't let his striking do the talk. And Juraev had a very dominant first round. And I think that almost, not shocked Njokuani, but almost made him a bit gun shy. Made him second guess himself because he was apprehensive about the takedown. He didn't want to overshoot. And he just ended up sort of jabbing ones here and there. And sort of peppering Juraev's face, but it wasn't enough. I think he only landed 6 or 7 significant strikes throughout the fight, which says enough about his performance. But it was a split decision because, again, he did do the more damage because Juraev wasn't really doing anything. It was more pressure. He wasn't really landing or making the most of those opportunities, apart from the first round, which was a very dominant round in his favour. He could have probably come out for the second and maybe look for a finish, but he didn't do that. But he did get the split decision. And again, good fight all in all to open up the main card. Daniel Pineda defeated Tucker Lutz by guillotine in the second round. Lucas Alexander beat Stephen Peterson by unanimous decision. Stephen Peterson, following that loss, has retired. So good luck to him in his future endeavours. And I believe he's going to be a coach and mentor at 47 Maycee. He's going to be continuing in the sport, just not competing in the sport. Trevin Giles defeated Preston Parsons by split decision. CJ Vergara had possibly the comeback of the year with his ground and pound win in round 2 against Daniel Da Silva, who Daniel Da Silva was chasing him around in the first round and almost got him out of there. But Vergara using his wits and his whereabouts and his cage knowledge to get himself out of there and make it through the first round. And then, of course, opening up the card was Victor Altamirano defeating Vinicius Salvador by unanimous decision. So all in all, a good card. Good to be in San Antonio. Good. Fantastic to be, having fights with fans in attendance. Obviously, next week we're back at 287. So again, we're back with fans, and then I believe we've got a little bit of time with the Apex. Maybe 2 weeks after that, because I know we've got the Holloway Arnold Allen fight coming up, which is going to be happening in Kansas City, I believe, in front of fans, which is fantastic because that fight would have been criminal to have in the Apex, as it would have been this fight, Sandhagen and Vera, as it would have been back in February. But yes, I'm going to leave it there, guys. We've got PFL coming up this weekend, so we'll be doing a preview for PFL. Fantastic card with Brendan Loughnane and Marlon Vera going at it in the main event, in the featherweight bracket of the new tournament. So do hit that subscribe button. Do make sure to follow us on social media at CageChat MMA across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to follow our Facebook page as well. We're almost there at 2,500 followers now. So appreciate all the support I can get. And I will see you guys on the next one.